Somebody that's been critical to this and this vision, because it started with her vision back in 1991 with the McDowell Gateway Arch. And so, when again, as I mentioned earlier, when we learned that Michelle would be available and would be able to be here, we were super excited. She came first and presented to the committee, and so appreciate her time and her dedication and her vision that we're going to help carry forward along McDowell Road. So, Michelle Stuhl, I'd like to invite you up and talk about your arch.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I've been actually living in the Valley since 1985, and I have a studio both here and back east in New York. It's great to be here. It's so rewarding to be connected with this community and to see the energy and focus on this wonderful neighborhood in Phoenix. So in 1991, my work was selected to be utilized by the community organization by the Phoenix Arts Commission. As many of you already know, the shopping section of McDowell was impacted because the elimination of angle parking created it to be more of a vehicle corridor and less of a connection with people being able to pull in and pull out and shop easily. So a decision was made to create a public art project to create a landmark, a placemaker to utilize art to create visibility for the neighborhood. I've actually worked and created art in the neighborhood with John Armstrong, a wonderful artist, a teacher who has a studio here on McDowell, and his wife Joan Pryor, who's a fine art consultant, for years. My work has typically been abstract. However, there's usually enough visual clues to create a connection, shapes and forms that resemble structures or objects that are around us, often inspired by architecture and fences. So I originally worked with a community group that was based in the McDowell corridor. They were terrific to work with, so sincere, and their desire to have an impact by this piece for the neighborhood. But we had some challenges. There was not really a significant site. There was not much space. There was not a park that we were going to put this sculpture in. There was no common areas. The sidewalks had already been installed, and the borders were narrow. So as we began to talk about some of the challenges from a space standpoint, someone on the panel mentioned that the piece of public art that they had found the most significant in their life experiences was the arch in St. Louis. Well, the arch in St. Louis is a gigantic arch that actually has an elevator in it. It's designed by Saarinen, who's a famous artist and architect. So it was a pretty ambitious bar, but the panel loved the idea of an arch. So that's what we began to explore. What was great about the idea of an arch was that it did not require a huge amount of ground space, and it would not impede foot traffic or get in the way of the sidewalks. So I began to work from sketches and models. I developed a design of a gateway with a fence-like motif over the center. I wanted to be sure that there was a clear differentiation between the arch and light poles or signs and storefronts. And I wanted the piece to be white so that it would reflect the light at different times of day. So light in Arizona is so beautiful. I felt that this would be create an opportunity to see the piece at different times of day in a different way. I worked with Michael Anderson, who's here today. He's a local sculptor who had the skill and ability to build this piece at this scale, which is no walk in the park. He literally had me draw the shapes in chalk directly on huge sheets of steel at his fabrication studio, so that the pieces had the hand of the artist, and that they weren't machined lines or fabricated in a way that it feels like it was more manufactured rather than an artist having made it. And it's closer to my original model, which is here today, than I could have imagined. The day that we closed the street to install the piece was a thrill. Cranes and installers, and everything worked perfectly. Michael brought the gateway to life. Thank you again, Michael. The piece was originally supposed to be lit. However, we lost our funding, so the lighting did not happen at that time. And now, so many years later, the cost of lighting is much lower, so I'm hopeful that there's a possibility of the piece being lit, as it would really enhance the piece and I think provide a really nice nighttime presence for the neighborhood. I can't tell you how happy I am that the community is working together to create programs to support this historic area, and I'm so grateful for you letting me be a part of it. Thank you.